So something I have really noticed that's super interesting is that government contracting websites seem a lot like other professional services websites. They seem kind of a little bit like standard lead capture websites. But you know what? They're not. There's actually some super important ways in which government contracting websites differ quite a bit from your standard lead capture site. So we're here today to talk about those ways in which they differ, and to sort of expand upon it. My name is Erica Dickstein, and I'm with Spring Insight.
I'm Laura Mayer, also with Spring Insight.
Awesome. So we are going to go through, as I said, some reasons today why these websites are just a bit different. So reason number one that they're different: who is looking at your website?
Yeah, I think, the first thing I think that comes to mind is your website is really for other government contractors looking to put a bid together. So they're looking to fill their team out. They're looking to maximize any certifications your organization may have. And so they want this information quickly. Usually the bid process is put together very quickly. So you need to be able to respond to your audience with the information they need right away.
Yeah. So are there other government contractors or busy government contracting officers, right?
Right.
So those are sort of the two sets of people that are looking at it. And reason number two, and we've sort of dipped into reason number two as we've done reason number one, is what those viewers are looking at. So let's flip over to that. And Laura, you started to talk about this, but when you're putting together a bid, you're looking for such specific things, right? You're looking for, whether it's NAICS codes or capabilities pages, or contract vehicles. There are very specific things that you're looking to see, and you're looking to see very, very quickly.
Definitely. Other stuff we touched upon already. You want to know, are there any certifications? Because those definitely make bids more attractive and powerful, right, as well. And of course, prior work experience. You're often being put together with teams you may not have worked together before. So it's very important to give samples of your work and how they complement that other contracting partner.
Yeah, 100%. And so what that means for your website is that, for somebody who is visiting your website wants to see this, and they want to see this super, super quickly. Whether it's by putting things in the footer, whether it's putting them on the homepage or in the navigation, they want to be able to come to your site and immediately know, using the language that they're used to seeing, see this information very quickly without having to figure out where to go. Personally, I remember when I was working on putting together a bid, going through, and no one's going to believe this, but going through literally 105 websites of people who had attended a certain conference to see, as a pre-bid conference, to see whether or not they would be good partners. And it was, there were some where you could see right on the footer whether they had the certifications with whom we wanted to align or not, and others you really had to dig, and it makes a huge difference, particularly when you're trying to put something together and over with a large group of people.
Yeah, that's a
um,
really good point, Erica, because, at the end of the day, they're still a regular user. So you want as minimal clicks as possible till they get to the
mhm.
stuff that they need to get to. So it's very important to flesh out that particular user persona and map their journey as quickly as possible.
Absolutely. So the third reason we're going to talk about today, the third reason that GovCon websites are very different, or at least fairly different from sort of your standard business development site, is WCAG compliance.
Yeah, compliance, A11Y, right. Lots of people, they're not sure if their website needs to be compliant. If you are a entity that works with the government or a third party entity that works with a organization that works with the government, it is mandated by the Department of Justice that your website be accessible to what is called WCAG 2.1 AA.
As of the recording of this video.
As of the recording, right? That came out just last Friday. So very important. So I don't yet, Erica, what does that mean to you? Like, what do you think that means when people hear that?
Well, I mean, it's such an interesting, as of as of January of last year, Spring Insight, our company, builds all sites to be within within the spirit of WCAG compliance. Not every site, depending on the client, is going to be tested as such, but we're going to put our best effort into making it WCAG, into making it compliant. But that's not the case for every web development team. I certainly see new websites all the time that clearly aren't built with WCAG compliance. So for anybody who is unfamiliar with this, what that looks like making sure that colors are contrasting properly. It's making sure that, if you're using an assistive device, and so you're perhaps tabbing through, that it has very logical tab sizes, making sure you're using compliant fonts and that your font sizes are appropriate. So there's all sorts of, it's a myriad of things which is outside of the scope of our video today. But it's a more meticulous process, and it's a process that, when not done correctly, the remediation of it is super, super challenging.
And very expensive, right? And
Oh,
then
yeah, absolutely.
it's not just like, oh, let's bump the font up and make it bigger, or we'll just change the color of something. Because as we know in web development, right, we have such a strong visual brand. So how do you make those changes that are compliant, that allow more people to use your website and ingest your information, but at the same time, you're not damaging your brand. We're still remaining on in brand guidelines. So and all the
Absolutely.
things that we never see
And
because we don't have those challenges. So we don't even think about
absolutely, 100%, which is a great point, by the way, that we're sort of talking about compliance we're talking about compliance as well, gee, you need to do this because the government tells you to do it. But by the way, it's also just a really good thing to do, because something like 20% of the population has some sort of need for assistive. I'm wearing reading glasses. I need these reading glasses. I would not be able to read at this point the text on my computer. So certainly we need to be aware that people do need these. So so it's certainly something that, whereas other organizations might be able to slide by, government contractors cannot. And particularly if a new site is being built, it's really just not something that you should even attempt. You absolutely need to have WCAG compliant websites. So, fourth reason, we could, by the way, do an
it.
entire video
I was going to
on.
say, do one on that. That'll be another future video to come.
I think that sounds like a really fun one. So the reason number 4 we're going to talk about is the length of the sales cycle. And that's just a super interesting thing about government contractors, in that, a government contractor can be working on nurturing a lead, whereas, if a couple of months for another business might seem like an eternity. For government contractors, this can be years, right?
Right.
Absolutely years, whether it's working with a prime, yes, we would be great, please fill us in, et cetera, whether it's working with a government entity on a project that they know is coming. Will it get funded? Will it get funded? Will it get funded? And so what that means is that you're not only you're sort of selling fast and slow on the website. That means that, the website has to have that information, the information that we talked about earlier, where you can find it super quickly. Okay, hold on, we're putting together a team. But also, we're building slowly. We have the blogs. We have all of the pieces that give us the opportunity to build our subject matter expertise and our point of view for those people who we're building over a much longer period of time. The fifth reason that government contractor websites are really different, that we're going to talk about today, is the size of your business.
Yeah, I think, that's really important. I think because in government contracting, you might need to scale so quickly. It's very important that you have a website and a content management system in place that can quickly handle whatever that contract brings to you, right? And so we might initially think, oh, well, it's information. We were talking about stuff, our capabilities or our NACE codes or things like that. But it also includes systems of if you get a large contract and you're all of a sudden onboarding 50 new employees, do you have an internal portal on your website that you can quickly onboard them or share information with them? Likewise, if you're all of a sudden working with a large team on a contract or on a project, do you have those back end systems in place that are going to quickly tie into your workflow and allow you to share your work easily and efficiently with these other organizations? So your website has to really be thoughtful as to not just what it is now, but what do you need it to be and how quickly do you need it to fulfill those things, those requirements.
Yeah, those are great. Those are great points, and those are all back end points. And what's interesting is when I was originally thinking about this point, I was really thinking more on the front end pieces, which are just very simply that no other organization that I've ever seen has the ability and sometimes the necessity of scaling like a government contracting
Mm.
company. You know, you think about sort of the classic government contracting story, a couple of people, you know, maybe they retire from the military or they have some great idea, right? And it's just two people and they build sort of a small shell of a website. Then they win a contract and fulfilling that contract and I mean, their heads are falling off because they're so busy trying to fulfill that,
Yeah,
right? And then by the time they stop to breathe again, the website that they created probably on this, the day after they created their entity is so bad that they no longer can give out their business card because they're like, oh yeah, look at our website, right?
yeah.
And we find that a lot. We've worked with a number of government contractors where the website that we're working with represented very specifically who they were a couple of months ago.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So
Yeah, so it's interesting. It's both those back end and those front end pieces.
all the more reason to have a digital marketing agency on your side, right? Like Spring
Right.
Insight to help you with your strategy.
Funny you were going to say that because I was going to close out by saying I think that the really big learning lesson here is whether it's Spring Insight, we certainly hope it's Spring Insight, or another digital agency. What you want to be very careful of as a government contractor is making sure that the team in which you're working is a team that is experienced with working with government contractors, that really knows the ins and outs of that contracting process and understands how these websites are different and is able to work with you to see where you are today, where you're going to be, where your goal is to be headed in the future. If you'd like to hear more great content like this, we're just getting started, but we are very dedicated to providing interesting content on a regular basis for government contractors and other subject matter experts. Please feel free. Please definitely subscribe to our channel. And if you don't have a website strategy team that has experience with doing this kind of work, we hope that you will get in touch with us. Our website is springinsight.com, and that's down in the description. Thank you so much.